Time for our weekly Media Insider slot with the New Zealand Herald Editor-at-Large, Shayne Currie, who's at the desk with us. Shayne, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Now, lots of news. In fact, the big media story this week was no doubt this doco that's being made, and we heard yesterday from Dame Julie Christie. Your insider column this morning has news on potential for a rebate here.
That's right. I think, most productions in New Zealand, if they have an international component to them, and this one does, we understand it has a Netflix-type arrangement. The specific platform hasn't been confirmed yet. But Julie Christie has certainly registered for the public rebate. Now, that could either be the 20% international rebate or the 40% domestic rebate. And that basically means if she spends, it's hypothetically $4 million on producing the doco, she will either get 20% of it back or 40% of it back eventually once she provides all the receipts and the Film Commission is happy with it. Now, the rebate, it's not specially just for this project. It's been in place for 11 years now, and it's designed, like most countries, is to attract investment into New Zealand, attract filmmaking, TV productions. And, there's been some very high-profile, successful productions that have come to New Zealand in the last decade, the likes of Sweet Tooth on Netflix, the big movies that we see and that we promote the country on. So it's just interesting that the doco itself, all that debate around are the police right in terms of allowing the producers behind the scenes of the cordon on a crime scene, it will actually get public support.
Yeah, which just to be clear, is not specific to that documentary. It's not like it's New Zealand On Air funding for this particular doco. It's something anyone would get who is making a doco.
They can register. So we have to be clear. She's registered for it now. That's the first step to a formal application.
Right.
It basically, as a source told me, it's her intention to. It signals her intention that she will go for that rebate ultimately.
Okay.
You're right. I mean, it's a lot of the productions that are produced locally are eligible for the rebate and will receive it. And I think it's paid out something like in the first 8 years, from 2014 to 2022, it's paid out around just over $1.5 billion.
Good chunk of change.
A big chunk of change, and of course the debate around the doco continues.
Yeah, do you have a view on it? Because I tend to think the filming, from what I understand, started like almost a year ago. Yeah. This is when they needed publicity. This is what you would expect of the cops, and then just because it comes to a conclusion, you don't stop the doco. Yeah,
no issues whatsoever with Dame Julie's attempts here to produce what will be an incredible documentary, I'm sure. I think probably more scrutiny is on the police and just why they've allowed it to happen in the time frame that they have, and knowing the potential for, we did see one death, the potential for tragedy and disaster here was pretty high when you look at the scope. But Dame Julie is one of our greatest filmmakers, TV producers. She's got a hell of a story under her bag. The big question is when she'll be able to actually screen it, when will we be able to see it? Because the police have got some pretty tight restrictions here. They're saying it has to come after any inquiries. That could be a royal commission.
Years.
5 years, 10 years away.
People will still watch it, won't they, even if it is that long away. Now, Sam Neill's had a bit of a crack at RNZ, who are trying to sort of change their tack a little bit in terms of radio audience. Yeah,
I feel for RNZ here because, they went through all that hassle about 5 years ago when they tried to remove RNZ Concert from the FM frequency. They're now trying to make some changes to their music, arts and culture programs at the weekend, including a segment of movie reviews. Now, Sam Neill's come out on social media yesterday and described RNZ leadership as cloth-eared clowns and that they shouldn't be getting rid of the specialist movie reviewer. But it plays to, I guess, the biggest story here around just that dyed-in-the-wool RNZ fan base, listenership. And the RNZ leadership team are going to really have to avoid some of this noise or ignore it in order to make the required changes to lift their ratings.
It's hard for them, and I do feel for them, because whatever changes they make, and especially if they start tinkering with stuff around the arts and things like that, which the audience love, you run the risk of actually shedding listeners, at least in the interim, before you start gaining again, don't you?
You do, and I think it comes down to that great debate around RNZ, its role as a public broadcaster versus its also desire to attract as big an audience as possible. So, there is a criticism of RNZ that digitally especially, it's kind of moving into that mass media organisation, taking on the likes of Stuff in the Herald digitally. Whereas some critics or public broadcast supporters are saying it focus on what the charter obliges you to.
Shane, we might have to tease the next one because we're almost, well, actually, no, we'll get to it. But do sign up for the Media Insider column if you haven't, because it's a great read. Sky appears to have won the Olympics.
No, I'll call it now. They've got the Olympics rights for 2028. I'm expecting more announcements this morning on that, but TVNZ have definitely said to me yesterday they don't have the rights. Now, they and Sky were in a big battle for the Olympics rights. If you remember, TVNZ now will have the technology to be able to introduce subscription television from next year, but they've missed out on this one. Sky have said, have confirmed they're in discussions with IOC and just nailing down final details, but
right.
Sky for the rights.
And we'll see some free-to-air on 3 and Sky
No
Open.
doubt. I think having 3 now under their wing would have been a big advantage in terms of they'll probably have at least a dozen channels of sport, and TV3 will offer free-to-air coverage as well.
God, we used to dream of the days when the Olympics would come to TV3.
There you go.
Now we're all gone and finally it's happening. Shane, good to see you.